3 to 5 deep work sessions every single day is all you need to become hyper successful, extremely productive, and hit all your business and revenue targets, whether it's six, seven, eight, or maybe for the 1% of the 1% for you out there, 9 figures a year. In this video, I want to cover how to structure your day correctly so you're actually getting 3 to 5 deep work sessions complete. Because if you don't do this the right way, you're actually going to get stuck in busy work and you're not going to move the needle forward, as Gary Keller would say, with the one thing. Executing on that one thing and being able to focus for 3 to 5 work sessions every single day, it makes things very simple. It doesn't make things daunting. Because if you think about, maximizing your productivity and really being a productive entrepreneur, it starts to feel it's not very tangible, but when you can break it down, it's okay, all I got to do is three, four, maybe five at the most, right? That's kind of pushing it. Deep work sessions, and that's it. It allows you to actually, it's more tangible. You can actually structure it out and acknowledge it in your day. So if you do this for a consistent period of time, it's going to be very difficult to not be incredibly successful. It doesn't matter what line of business you're in, whether it's e-com or personal branding or whatever. It doesn't matter because, if you do 3 to 5 sessions every single day of deep work and it's focused and there's no interruptions and you have binaural beats and you're always in a flow state and you're able to condense time and use urgency and Parkinson's law to be able to accomplish in 4 hours what other people would take 20 hours, you're going to be successful. It doesn't matter the industry, it doesn't matter the business model. Now, of course, these things are a factor, of course, but my point is you're going to be the most productive human you can be and operate at your best level. Okay, your 3 to 5 deep work sessions a day for 6 to 12 months from your dream life. I want to highlight this, guys. It's so important. And by the time you finish the video, I want you to walk away with something actionable that you can start doing tomorrow. Russell Brunson calls it your one funnel away, right? If you do 3 to 5 deep work sessions every single day, maybe you exclude like a Sunday off, whatever, you exclude a Sunday off, the occasional vacation, right, that you take. But aside from like those things, if you do 3 to 5 deep work sessions per day, you're 6 to 12 months away from your dream life. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna be a billionaire in 6 to 12 months and like have $100 billion net worth. That's not what it means. It means your dream life, your beta goal, the goal that you want directly in front of you, or maybe 2 goals away. All you have to do is do deep work for 3 to 5 sessions for 6 to 12 months, focusing on the number one and number two highest priority things in your business, and you will get there. Now, again, I'm going to highlight what's required to operate at peak performance and make it a default to stay there. Because, and this kind of ties into our offer and kind of what we offer, etc. But if you can do this for a couple days, a couple weeks, but you need to make it a default. You need to make it the default every single day to get 3 to 5 deep work sessions done on the number one, number two thing. Now, the easiest way to do this, and I'm going to make a separate video talking about this. I actually don't think I put it on this doc. And, it's even more important than work efficiency, right? Work efficiency is the rate at which you're working, which I'll cover in a second. What's more important is prioritization, because what you want to do is think to yourself, what would I need to do to make my business 10 times bigger? Okay. So what would I need to do to make my business 10 times bigger? And again, you actually sit down and think about it. And better question, what would be the 3 to 5 things that I would need to do to make my business 10 times the size that it is right now? What are the 3 to 5 things you must get done? And honestly, there might not even be 3 to 5 things. It might be only one or two, right? So what are the one or two things, to maybe narrow it if you need to, that you need to do to 10 times your business or to 100x your business? And you as the founder and CEO, that should be where 85% of your focus goes. If not, then higher. 85 to 90% of your focus, right? So for example, if to grow your business by 10 times, you need to install a webinar funnel. Let's just say that's the example. Then you're going to spend 85 to 90% of your day doing deep focus work, 3 to 4 work sessions a day, just focused on that. And then the rest of the stuff you need to work on in the business, like putting out fires, like handling client replies, you delegate to competent team members, or you kind of put it at a work block later in the day when you're kind of fatigued, you're already tired, and you can kind of do it. Not to say it's not important. It is important, but it doesn't take priority over the big mission, the big 1 to 2 things that's going to really move the needle forward, okay? So that's the number one thing. If you can prioritize and do three probably too low, 5 to 6 deep focus work hours. Maybe that's 2 blocks or 3 blocks, but it's the number one, number two highest priority thing in the business. It's the thing that's actually going to move the needle forward. Okay. Like if I ask you what are 3 to 5 things that you would need to get done if you wanted to 100x the size of the business, that's the thing as CEO, as founder, as the entrepreneur that you should be focused on. Everything else should be delegated. Or at the very least, you should have 80 to 90% of your focus on that. Okay. That's the main thing. Now, every single day, aside from that, another point I want to come across, if you can operate at 95+% of your potential and you can make it a default habit, that will compound to massive success over time and you'll be able to run circles around the competition. So for example, I want to plug our offer real quick. If you've never heard of it, just give me 30 seconds and I'll go back to the point of the video. So our offer is we help you perform like an 8-figure entrepreneur in 60 days or you don't pay. There'll be more in the description. I'm not going to cover right here. I'll talk about it towards the end of the video. But we basically have you hire your own chief performance and accountability officer. So we have a position in your company that's chief performance and accountability officer. Their sole job is to make sure you're doing your job. Make sure you're doing your job to the best of your ability. Okay, so going back to this, every single day, you want to operate at 95% plus of your full potential. So the way you want to think about it is if every single day was, let's just say on a scale of 0 to 100, right? 100 represents the best you could possibly do that day. If you're operating at 94% and higher every single day, you're just crushing, you're killing, you're getting crazy momentum, meaning you're focused, you're not falling, victim to distractions. You're not like, again, nobody's perfect. These are human things. These devices are designed to make us addicted to them. Facebook, Instagram, like they have thousands of scientists and researchers in a room trying to figure out what is the dopamine pathway that these platforms will hook you and get you. So in the world that we live in, we need to optimize our environment. We need to optimize our deep work sessions. We need to make sure we're always prioritizing. It's very tempting to fall victim to putting out fires instead of focusing on the needle moving activity. So every single day, what you want to do is you want to operate at 95% of your full potential. If you can make that a habit, then it's going to greatly compound your success. So what we offer, and again, even if you don't want to go over our offer, I highly recommend you look into this, is hiring your own chief performance and accountability officer to review your progress every single day. Like out of 100 today, where did the CEO, where did the founder? Because if you have less than 50 employees, and even still, guys, like the direction of the founder and the leader is the most important position in the company. And if you're not operating at 94+% of your potential every single day, you're just a machine, you're executing, you're getting things done, then you're not going to grow as fast or as powerfully as you want it to be. Okay, so that's kind of what we offer, is we do that in 60 days or less to get you performing like an 8 or 9-figure entrepreneur. I want to talk about work efficiency. And by the way, there's a free trial for that, a 1-week free trial, cancel anytime, 60-day money back guarantee. Let's talk about work efficiency. If your work efficiency is lacking, you will never be as successful as you want to be. I can't stress that enough. Work efficiency, okay? Guys, to be successful and to hit our goals, obviously we have to work. Like, duh. If your work efficiency sucks, it's like trying to run a marathon on one leg. Okay, let me repeat that again. This is so important. This is so critical that it's worth repeating. To become successful, we're going to have to work. There's no way around that. Your work efficiency, the rate of which you work, which I'll cover what that means in a second, if that's low, then fundamentally the way you work is screwed. It's going to be very hard to become successful. It's going to be almost impossible. Most of you guys watching this, your work efficiency is terrible. And again, I'm not offending you, but it's like 30, 35%. It's not 90%. Okay, I'll talk about what that means in a second. Okay, for example, if you have, let's just say, a 3-hour work block, and within that 3 hours, you are focused for 2 hours and 50 minutes. I'm not going to do the math, but your work efficiency is very high. Okay, so for example, if you have 100 minutes of deep focus work and you are like on point for 90 of those 100 minutes, your work efficiency is 90%. What happens with most people? So I want you to think about the traditional 9 to 5 office worker, right, who gets paid 60, 70 grand a year, just a normal guy, normal girl. They roll up to the office at 9 a.m. They take their sweet time. They're not really in a rush. They kind of go to the break room. They get some coffee. They come back. They check their phone. They check Slack, they check email, then they start doing a little bit of work, they check they check their text, then they go back to the break room, then they go to the bathroom, and they have like priorities and deadlines, but there's no urgency. And what happens is you're gonna fill the time because you're forced to be there for 8 hours. There's no pressure, there's no rush. So as a result, in the 8 hours you have there, you're gonna get like maybe 50 minutes of like actual deep focus work done. Okay, you don't want to do that. What you want to do is that same employee, if you tell that same employee, look, you have 90 minutes to get this done, or you have 60 minutes to get this done, well, what it would have taken them in 1 hour, they're gonna do it so much quicker because there's urgency. That's how you 4x the amount of productivity that you have. Your work efficiency is so important. Right now, you could be this you could be there could be a eight or nine figure entrepreneur. Your exact workday, if it was laid out in front of them, they could probably do it in 2 or 3 hours. Okay, you want to be the type of person where your work efficiency is so high, you don't necessarily need a lot of hours to work. Now, granted, you want to combine them, you want to work a lot, but also have really high efficiency. What you don't want to do is have really crappy efficiency, like you're not able to focus, you're not able to get the stuff done, you're very slow, there's not a lot of energy, not a lot of oomph behind your work sessions, and then you're working like 10 hours a day. Okay, and this is very typical. People that work on their kitchen countertops, people that work in their living room where there's noise and kids screaming everywhere, people that work at cafes sometimes if they're not able to get in the zone. You don't want to work 12 hours a day and then feel like you accomplish nothing. That is the dreaded feeling. That's what we're avoiding by doing 3 to 5 deep work sessions per day. By doing deep work sessions per day, it means your work efficiency is extremely high. If you have 3 hours, you're squeezing as much of those 3 hours or high energy, high voltage. That way you're able to actually achieve your dream life. What this allows you to do is it allows you to have a lot of free time left. Because if you can do in 3 hours what it would have taken you in 6, well, you literally just doubled your productivity, and it's not voodoo magic. It's Parkinson's law. It's urgency. It's making sure you have time constraints. And I'll cover it in this. I'm kind of going all over the place, guys, but um, I like using a stopwatch when I'm working. That way I can measure like how long I'm in flow for. And usually when it's around like 2 hours, maybe 2.5, sometimes less. But I know, okay, I'm doing 90 minutes of deep focus work. This is a good point. Let me kind of take a break here. And then I'll map out, okay, I'll do my first session of the day, my second session of the day. I never want to do less than 3, unless it's like a Saturday or something and I could do two long sessions. But sometimes some people have a countdown, like they'll put 2 hours and it'll be counting down in reverse. Personally, I don't like that. I like the stopwatch, but you can use either or. It doesn't really matter, whatever you prefer. So some people can have an Apple Watch with a countdown right there, and then it kind of, or another tab open with the timer with the countdown, or both, and that way you kind of know. You feel like, okay, I have 3 hours to get this done. Let me just knock it out of the park. Okay. If you have an ad campaign, if you give yourself the whole week to do it, or you don't set a deadline, it's not going to get done. If you give yourself 60 minutes, it will get done. Okay, guys, you want to, again, deep focused, uninterrupted work. You want to focus on the needle moving and revenue generating activities, the absolute highest points of leverage in your business. What you don't want to do is you don't want to do deep work on stuff that doesn't matter. Let me rephrase that. You don't want to do deep focus work working in the business. You want to do deep focus work working on the business. Again, you could do both, right? But I'm just talking in terms of let's just use the example of client replies. Client replies, they're very important. It's very important you have good customer service, good fulfillment. Of course, we all know that. But it's not necessarily going to move the needle forward. You can have a team member doing that to delegate that. So, for you, as a CEO, as a founder, prioritizing prospecting or revenue generating activities, or preferably instead of prospecting, the system to, building a system so that you won't have to prospect again, like ads or like having an appointment setter, army, or something like that. You want to use the highest point of leverage. So in that example, if prospecting is a important activity, what can possibly be more important than prospecting is building an appointment setter army. That way they do the prospecting for you, or building a profitable lead acquisition system. That way you don't have to do prospecting every single day, and you can get clients coming in profitably. Building a cold email campaign and handing it off to a virtual assistant. That way you don't have to do those things would take priority in that sense because they're more important. Okay, that's where the deep work session comes in. Okay, So I want you guys to analyze right now, what does your work schedule actually look like? And be honest, like, are you working in blocks? Guys, it's much more, I promise you, if you switch to working in blocks, test it out for yourself, like work in blocks of 2, 3 hours. It's better than just working this like slow burn. Like the way most people work is they hop into the office at 8 a.m. and they leave at 4 p.m. Okay. And the problem with that is they're not really on and they're not really off. Okay. You want to be super on. You want to think about it like sprints. Okay. You're sprinting and then you're recovering and then you're sprinting again. Then you're recovering, then you're sprinting again. You don't want to do like this lackadaisical jog when there's no purpose to it. Okay. So if you hop in the office at 8 a.m., there's no urgency. Nothing is going to get done by, it's very hard to get into a flow state. It's very hard when you have the countdown, when you have the timer, it increases your flow proneness. It allows you to get into flow deeper, especially if you have binaural beats, you know, noise canceling headphones, that type of thing. Okay. If you wanted to 10x your business, where does it need to be? If you wanted to 10x your business, where does your schedule need to be? Or how do your work habits need to look like? Okay. And you want to start operating as that person right now. Again, if you need to hire a chief performance officer or just somebody to keep you accountable, it is 100% worth it. You don't want to work in a gray zone, guys. The gray zone is like Parkinson's law backwards. It's like having a curse on you is when you're working in the gray zone, meaning you're not off and you're not on. You're in the middle. So if you ever, and sometimes again, if you're on vacation and you're at the beach and you have a laptop, whatever, and you're checking emails, it's not a big deal. If you're doing admin stuff, it's not a big deal if you want to sit on the couch and just do a little bit of admin stuff for like half an hour. It's not a big deal. But when you're in the deep focused work blocks, you don't want to you want to sprint and then recover. Sprint, recover. That's how you're able to get your life back. That's how you're able to have 6 to 8 hours a day of free time if you wanted to, and actually being extremely productive at the same time. Peak performers don't do this stuff. They don't. And what you want to do is each session is between 1 and 3 hours. Okay, because if it's less than 1 hour, it takes like 20 minutes to get into flow, depending on your mental state. So probably minimum 1 hour, but probably up to 3 hours. After that, you kind of start to fatigue a little bit and you want to be able to rest and recover. In the beginning of the day, you want to have the longest sessions, and then as the day goes on, you're going to have shorter and shorter and shorter sessions. Okay, you want to sprint, rest, then sprint again. Do not jog without purpose. You want to get your brain into a flow state. This is super important. If you're not in a flow state, it becomes very hard to be extremely creative. You want time to dilute. There's a lot of books, there's a lot of videos on deep work, so I'm not going to cover it too deeply here. There's a great book by Cal Newport, I think, called Deep Work. It's probably a top 5 book that I've ever read, because work is that fundamental thing that determines the outcome of your success. It's like one of the fundamentals. Okay, if you can't work properly, you're not going to be successful. Okay, and if your work doesn't have high efficiency, if you work and it's low efficiency, you're going to take longer to achieve the same things. Like, think about Elon Musk. He's probably the best example of high work efficiency. The amount of stuff that Elon Musk gets done in 30 days is what people take a year to get done. Probably, maybe even more than that. You want to be an extremely efficient worker, extremely efficient. Okay. And then think about it, like when you're playing, maybe if you ever played video games for like a long session, or you're playing sports, you have that heightened concentration. That's what you want to have. You can't have the heightened concentration if people are calling you, if people are messaging you, if you're checking Instagram every 20 minutes, if people are knocking on your door, if there's kids running around screaming. You're not going to be able to get that heightened concentration, that heightened energy that you otherwise would have had. Again, work efficiency, super, super important. If you have 8 hours of work, you want to squeeze 16 hours of production, okay? If you don't want to do it the opposite way, where you have 8 hours of the day and you're only productive for like 2 of them. You want to do it the opposite. You want to squeeze every second of every minute of the day. And then when you're not doing that, you're recovering. Okay, super important. Super, super, super important. 3 to 5 deep work sessions a day. That's all you need to do. Okay, that's all you need to do. And to operate at 94% of your capability every single day. You're 6 to 12 months away from completely changing your life if you have the optimal work habits. If you have the optimal work habits and every single day you operate at 94, 95% plus of that day's full potential with 3 to 5 deep focus work blocks, you're going to accomplish what you want to accomplish. It's just a matter of accountability. just a matter of performance, and it's a matter of embodying elite performance every single day. Here are some rules for deep work, guys, and be honest. Like, just look at this and see, where am I lacking? Okay, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes on this all the time. And eight-figure entrepreneurs, they practice this stuff relentlessly, and they make mistakes sometimes. The point is not to be perfect. The point is to be better and be consistent and make it a habit. So no distractions when you're in deep work. It also helps sometimes if you're early in the morning with some of this stuff. Again, and sometimes you have to have meetings with your team, and that's not necessarily a deep work thing. But even if you have a 3-hour block and you have meetings in between, and let's just say you have a 3-hour work block, or probably better, but you had a 2-hour block, and you need to get 5 or 6 meetings done. Having a limit, having a stopwatch, having a timer makes you more conscious of the time that you're spending. Okay, something that I like to do personally, this is just a thing of mine, is whenever I'm taking a break, I like to have a stopwatch with me. That way I'm at least conscious of, okay, how long is my break? Is it 20 minutes? Is it 25 minutes? That way I know how long the break is. Okay. You want to have no distractions, no phone, okay? No notifications. You want to be on do not disturb. Your team should not be able to message you. There should be some times of the day, maybe not the entire day, because you might need to be aware of some things, but there should be some time on the day where your team is not allowed to message you, or you're just offline. Okay? Maybe it's from 6 a.m. to or 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., whatever the case may be. You should have time where, like, it's a no zone, no one can kind of reach you, like, unless it's an emergency. You have binaural beats. There's a great company called Brain FM. So if you type in Brain FM on Google, I got this from Iman Gaji. Like, it's a company. It makes brain music, if that makes sense. It's just binaural beats, but they sound really engaging, and they're designed to get you in a flow state. Or you can just find any binaural beat on YouTube, and it does the same thing. Noise canceling headphones, really, really important. Water, coffee. L-tyrosine is very good for focus. Very healthy L-tyrosine. Lion's mane is very potent. It's a mushroom. Again, these are nootropics. They're completely healthy. You can find these on Amazon. They're not weird drugs or anything. I don't recommend modafinil. That's too much. Like, you don't need that stuff unless you have some condition or something. Creatine helps a lot. Just taking creatine helps. People think about it, the physical effect, but it has a great mental effect as well. So you can take creatine just in general. Will help a lot with this kind of stuff. This is a key I got from Alex Becker. So credits to Alex Becker, founder of Hyros, $150 million company, or whatever the valuation is. Work fasted, okay? Like, don't eat until you finish working. Now, that is difficult to do. And again, if you have some sort of medical condition or low blood sugar, don't listen to me, right? But again, if you're on medication, don't listen to me. But if you can, I highly recommend giving it a shot. I've been doing this, and I'll tell you guys a couple stories. A couple months ago, I had a really good day. I did like 2 really clean work sessions, and then I got really hungry. And I ate a nice meal. It wasn't even a big meal. I don't remember what it was. I ate like a normal size meal, like a smoothie or something. And again, everybody's different. Everybody's body is different. After I had that meal, I lost like 50 to 60% of the energy I had. All I felt like doing was taking a nap and going to sleep. And most people have had that experience. Everybody's had that experience. Digesting food is a very again, I'm not going to get nerdy on you guys here with the science, but your brain, it takes up like 30% of the glucose in your body. It might actually be more than that. When you're digesting food, biologically, it's a very intense process. So a lot of energy is going to digesting and breaking down that food. If you can eat after your biggest work blocks, you're gonna benefit tremendously from this. Of course, it has a bunch of health benefits as well, which we're not going to cover. But I highly recommend, again, if this is something you guys are not currently doing, just give it a shot. Give it a shot for 1 day or 2 days, or at least try to push the eating window as back as you possibly can. Don't eat too close to bedtime, obviously, so there is a sweet spot. But if you're waking up at 5 a.m., maybe have your first meal of the day at 2 or 3 p.m. Try that, or 1 p.m. Try that. See if it gives you a boost. The work block right after you eat ideally should be like work that's very chill. It's more admin stuff. It's meetings, things like that, where you don't need to have heightened concentration. Because if you eat a big meal, or even just a small meal, your insulin is going to spike and it's going to slow you down. Your concentration, your faculties are not going to be fully present. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Again, you want to have clear goals and focus on one objective. You don't want to have 300 tabs open, and you don't want to have a cluttered space. You want things to be clean mentally, and you want to have a single laser-like focus. Okay, the first 15 to 20 minutes of a deep work session, are the hardest. When you're first like getting started in a deep work session, those first 15 to 20 minutes, they're pretty brutal. They're pretty difficult, and it might make you want to just take a break or whatever. Like probably 70% of the energy is going to be exhausted in the first 15 to 20 minutes. It's like, when you're going up a hill, let me take back that analogy. It's like when you're trying to get a train to move, and in the beginning it's very difficult to get the train to move, but once you can kind of finally get it moving, once you have momentum, it becomes very, very easy. Flow is the same, okay? This is very important, guys, and this is one of the aspects that gets overlooked a lot. Let's say you are doing everything in this video and you're prioritizing your flow state. You're doing deep work blocks and you're prioritizing the number one most important thing in your business, okay? Everything is going fantastic. You're not getting disturbed. There's no notifications. What you do in your rest periods in between work blocks is extremely important, okay? So what you want to do in between work blocks is you want to have a quiet mind. Okay, Iman Gaji calls this monk mode. Alex Becker calls it nightmare mode. It doesn't really matter. What you want to do is you want to just clear your mind. So, for example, let's say you wake up at 5 a.m. and then you morning routine. You get started at working at 5:30. You finish at 8 a.m. That's your first work block. Let's just say, and you want to take a 20-30 minute break. Okay, what you don't want to do is you don't want to hop on Instagram or hop on Facebook or check your emails or like do anything that's going to put a lot of noise, a lot of clutter in your mind. The classical example is check current events, check news. What's going to happen is your brain is going to have a dopamine like spike. You're going to have a dopamine spike, which is going to make you feel lethargic and super, super tired and unmotivated to work. But the other thing is now all of a sudden, instead of having a clear mind, now your mind is full of random crap, random noise, right? Like it's almost like you got yourself dirty, like you threw yourself in a muddy puddle, and then you came back to work, and now you're full of dirt. You want to have your mind clean. So when you do your first work block, what you want to do is things that help you recover, things that give you energy. So going for a walk, um, going for a walk, maybe taking a nap to kind of boost your energy, just meditating, sitting quietly, maybe talking to a friend on the phone, or speaking to a friend, speaking to your partner, things like that. Just you want to be like maybe organizing your thoughts, maybe just getting out your journal or your phone and just putting your thoughts down. Just things like that are very low stimulating for your dopamine receptors and at the same time aren't going to clutter your brain. Because if you have half an hour and you go on Facebook or you go on YouTube, you know, there's a place for Facebook, there's a place for YouTube, but it should be at the end of the day. Because if you do it mid work block, it's gonna throw things off. Okay, let's say your favorite YouTuber, kind of posts a video and it's like all this dopamine kind of going everywhere. If you're in between work blocks on a break, when you get back to it, you're gonna be thinking about what you just saw. You want to try to avoid that. You want to have the day laser focused on your biggest priority. You don't want to see a new Mr. Beast video and then like all of a sudden you're thinking about this other thing in the background, or you go on Instagram or Facebook real quick and there's all these politics, there's all these people arguing, there's all these memes. Your dopamine just goes like that, and then it comes back down, and all of a sudden you're not going to want to get back into a work state, or it's going to be much more difficult to get back into a work state, much more difficult. And your brain is all of a sudden thinking about, hey, that random girl from high school went to South America backpacking. Oh, this cousin of mine that I haven't seen in 3 years, he's getting married or whatever. And now subconsciously, that's in the back of your mind. You want to leave social media, you want to leave all that stuff for after work. Super, super, super important. I'd also recommend to make a habit of tracking how many deep work sessions you have per day. So part of our offer to have, the chief performance and accountability officer is they track how many deep work sessions you're doing per day, right? But you want to track this, guys. You want to know, okay, I got 3 deep work sessions today, or I got only 1 and the rest of it was admin work. It kind of gives you an idea of how the day is going. So tracking how many you do in a performance tracker, highly recommend. Again, there's type 1 and type 2 work. Type 2 is you want to be in that as much as possible. Type 2 is like really deep focus work. And then there's other types of work that don't require heightened concentration. Checking emails, meetings, checking Slack, responding to Slack, maybe training some team members. Some of those things don't require deep focus work, okay? And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you want to prioritize the ones that do. Super important. Guys, that's going to start to wrap up the video. What I want you to do is tomorrow, I want you to execute what you saw in this video. execute what you saw in this video. Leave me a comment below. I never leave YouTube comments, but if you leave a comment below, it's one of those things where it kind of like you're gonna remember it more, and it's kind of like a mini commitment to yourself that yes, you know what, tomorrow I'm gonna do 3 to 5 deep focus work sessions, okay? And then if you come back, let me know how it goes. This is super, super important. If you can do this for 100 days, 100 days, because it's gonna build a habit, it's gonna solidify it. Again, I keep saying it, guys, but I think it's worth repeating. If you wanted to 10x your business, where does your schedule need to be? How does your work need to be structured? Okay. You need to follow a lot of the things in this video, maybe not every single detail. You're going to have your own variations of it, of course. You want to operate at 94, 95% plus of your full potential, and then do that for 100 days. If you can be super focused on the number one or number two thing that's going to actually move the needle forward for your business, guys, you're going to become hyper successful. When you do that for 6 months, for 12 months, it doesn't matter what your goal is, you're going to be able to achieve it because you're going to basically run circles around everybody else. It's super, super, super important. Guys, if you want to perform like an 8-figure or 9-figure entrepreneur in 60 days or you don't pay, that is our offer. Those are our services. You will hire your own chief performance and accountability officer, literally a position in your company that's responsible for making sure you execute to your highest and full potential. We have a 60-day money back guarantee and a performance guarantee, 1 week free trial, and then it's only $250 a month. It's basically like a steal. Instead of hiring, a 5K, 6K a month employee, we do this for you for like a fraction of like 3% of that cost. Cancel anytime. Guys, adjust your schedule. Do this for 100 days, 3 to 5 work blocks, and you will be hyper, hyper successful. Thank you.